Hello third grade. So today we're going to begin to make this skyscraper collage where we draw a skyscraper and add lots of neat details, lots of vertical and horizontal lines, maybe even some diagonals. And then you're going to outline with marker. And then in the background you're going to color the sky either in warm colors or cool colors. So what kind of colors is the background of this paper? Is it warm or cool? It's warm. So when you start, the way to start this assignment is you're going to get yourself a tall, skinny, white piece of paper. And I'm going to want you to use a ruler. And I made this handout for you to look at to give you some different ideas for your skyscraper. So I pulled some of these off the internet, some different ideas for different buildings, different styles of windows. The back of this is a drawing by an artist of New York City and all the different buildings, and it has some really nice different features to the tops of the buildings. Something that's a little different than just rectangles with square windows. Gives you a little bit of variety. And so you can use this handout for ideas. Or you can draw your own skyscraper. I'm okay with either way you want to do it. And you're going to start with a pencil and a ruler. And I want you to draw the shape of your building first, the outline of your building. And maybe your building is nearly as wide as this paper. And I'm going to make the bottom of my building as wide as the paper is. And then I'm going to make it get skinnier as it goes up towards the top of the paper. And notice how I use my ruler because skyscrapers are made of iron and concrete, so they don't have wobbly lines or free-form lines. They're very rigid in shape. And then I'm going to draw some rows of windows. And I want your windows to be the same in different sections. So when you look at this handout here, these windows are the same, these windows are the same, these windows are the same. But they're not the same from top to bottom. So if you want to change your windows, make sure you do nice neat rows and columns of windows. But you can change them up as you move up the skyscraper. So on my finished example here, you can see I started at the bottom with just some rectangles, and then it had some architectural detail around the windows. Then I did a section, a skinny little horizontal section of some skinny horizontal windows. Then the next section was just mostly all square windows. They're kind of rectangle-ish, but I was trying to do square. Then this section's similar, and then these windows are all very similar. So you can change the windows as you move up the skyscraper. Or if you want them all to be exactly the same, just try to draw them as neatly as possible with your ruler and try to make them the same. And you can use your ruler for the whole thing, or what I like to do is kind of use my ruler to lightly guide where my windows are going to go, and then I freehand it when I actually finish it off. But it's up to you how you do it. Whatever's easiest, but neat windows. I'm not going to accept windows that look like this. Okay, that's not okay. I want you to draw a window very neatly, and it's okay if it has little tails. You can erase those later. But then the next window above it should be the same width, hopefully the same height, and then the window next to it should be the same. So that's not quite the same size as that one, so I would need to erase the bottom of it and bring it down a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to use my ruler to draw just big, long, wide horizontal windows. That's what I'm going to do for this building. And you might want to draw light until you get it right. So draw real light while you're drawing it so you can erase easily any of the mistakes that you make. If you push really hard, like I'm doing right now, I'm pushing hard so you can see clearly on the screen what I'm doing. But if you push really hard, you won't be able to erase as easily. So if I made a mistake right now, it would be hard to erase it completely. And then notice how I'm trying to line up the sides of my window. So these all line up. I didn't do a very good job here and here, but as I go further down, I'm going to get better at it. So I'm just going to keep going over these windows, drawing them. neat with a ruler. And I'm pressing hard so you can see, but I would like you to draw light until you get it right. All right, now this row is going to be a little bit wider because the building is wider. All right, so I'm going to continue with windows all the way down to the bottom. I'm not going to make you watch me do that. The next step is to take a marker. Remember that if you twist the cap off of these markers, the end of the marker comes off. So you want to just pull the cap off, not twist. And I want you to trace your building. And it always looks nice if you have a variety of line thicknesses. So you know with this chisel tip, you can use the wide part of the chisel tip and get a nice thick line. Make sure it's black, black, black. Nice and dark black, okay? If it's kind of a grayish color and the marker's starting to fade, then please get a different one. And then I'm going to use the tip of the chisel tip marker to get a thinner line. And when you have a variety of thicknesses of line, it creates more interest. So with here, I have some thinner lines here. These windows were outlined a little bit thicker. But to make things stand out even more, I could make this a little bit wider for the line, and that will grab the eye a little bit. Maybe up here, I can color this edge with a thick line, where then essentially what I'm doing is filling this in or almost coloring in this section of the building. And it just starts to add a little bit more detail and a little bit more visual interest, and makes you want to look at the building a little bit more to get a closer look at it. Gee, that's a really cool drawing. How did they do that? If you want that kind of reaction when you're making your art, you change up the variety of things to draw your eye around the picture. So with this, I'm going to outline, and here I have one finished, ready to go. And then I had decided to just color it in black. That's something you could do. You could color in the building black and not leave it mostly white. You could leave it mostly black. Or what I could have done was left the building white and colored in the windows black if I wanted to. So this is finished for now. I'm going to set this aside. Oh, guess what I forgot to do? I forgot to remind you, always write your name on the back and the letter you have art. Day A, day B, day C, whatever letter you have. Then you're going to get yourself a big background paper. Write your name on that and the day you have art. Day A, day B, day C, flip it over. And then I want you to decide, are you doing warm or cool colors for your background? And I think I'm going to make your paper slightly smaller than this. This is really a little bit too big, but I'm going to go ahead and paint it. I'm not going to cut it down right now. So since I did my original piece in warm colors, I'm going to do this in cool colors. So I'm going to be using blues, greens, and purples to make my sky. And I don't want, you can do it any way you want. If you want to go gradual from one color to the next and do almost stripes, on my example here, I just kind of did a little bit of orange here, orange here, orange here, and then add a little bit of yellow and just let them all kind of run together. If you want to do more stripes, you could do that. But the first thing I'm going to do is get all the cool colors with a little bit of water puddled on top. So that, remember, this is watercolor, so you're painting the water. You're not painting the paint out of the oval, you're painting the water. So you're getting a puddle of water on top of the colors that you want to use. And then you move that water around and you paint the water, not the paint itself. So I'm going to take some blue. And I'm going to do this real random. Again, if you'd rather just do rows or stripes of things, you can. So I'm going to paint some blue there. I'm going to paint some blue here. Maybe paint some blue here. And maybe I do some larger spaces of blue and some smaller spaces of blue. It really is whatever grabs your eye. Whatever looks good to you. Alright. Now I'm going to rinse my paintbrush off, get some green on my paintbrush, and just paint that green right next to the blue. You can limit the colors that you use. If you're using cool colors and you want to stick with blues and purples, you could do that. You don't have to add any green to the sky if you think that's a little weird. Now I'm going to get some yellow green and add that in here. Painting this way, this random way, reminds me of kind of like a tie-dye. But you don't have to paint this way if you don't want to. More stripes if you want. I'm going to add some purple now. Now this purple with this green is going to want to make a brown color, because this green has a lot of yellow in it, and yellow and purple make brown. Use some red violet. And I want you to paint this in all the way. Don't leave any white paper showing. So I had a little bit of white right there, so I'm going to touch that with some paint. Got a little bit of white right there. I don't want you to take your paintbrush and dig it into the paint, especially if it's real wet right now. My paint here is really wet. I could scoop the paint right out of there with my paintbrush and paint it directly on my paper, but that would be just a horrible mistake because that paint will always stay a little sticky on my paper. Maybe add some more blue down here. All right, so again, I don't think your paper's going to be nearly this big. I think I'll give you slightly smaller paper so it's not so uncomfortable to paint and try to keep on the brown paper. All right. Almost finished. Sorry. Thank you for waiting. Lots of water, not a lot of paint. All right, now you're going to let this dry. You're going to put this on the drying rack and give it time to dry. And on the last day of working on this, you're going to then get your skyscraper back and your painted paper back. When you get your skyscraper, I want you to carefully cut out your skyscraper. So cut right along the edge, cut all that white background off of your skyscraper. Very carefully, remember that skyscrapers are not wobbly and round, wobbly, wavy edges. So make sure your skyscraper, you cut very straight lines. And then you're going to put a frame of glue on the back of your skyscraper. Don't just put a little dot of glue in the middle, put a frame of glue all around the edge. Try not to put so much that it squishes out the sides. And then you're going to line up your skyscraper with the bottom edge of your paper and glue that down. And you can see mine is not lined up with the bottom edge because I'm going to trim that off. This is way too much paper. But your paper, you will line it up right at the bottom edge, glue that down, your skyscraper, and then put this on the drying rack. And then you have a warm or cool colored background with a nice skyscraper showing at least horizontal and vertical lines. This one just shows horizontal and vertical, but this skyscraper shows some diagonals as well, which is pretty interesting. And these little nibs up here, they have diagonal too. So there you have it. That's how you complete your warm or cool colored skyscraper.